I'm Jason Denham, and 20 years ago, I started sitting with families in crisis, in therapeutic wilderness, in residential programs, foster homes, and eventually at my own table. What I kept seeing was the same thing over and over. Good people doing their best, being pulled apart by forces they couldn't quite name. The show is called The Reflective Parent because the most powerful thing a parent can do isn't find the right consequence or the right program. As a matter of fact, I saw the tremendous strain separation put on the family dynamic. I'm here to help parents before they have to choose programming, build a solid foundation at home, first with the family table method, which was born, tried and tested in programs over 13 years before coming to families for the past 7. Let's learn to slow down long enough to actually see what's happening. Season 2 is called What It's Costing Us. We're going to look honestly at the things that promise to keep us safe and connected and ask harder question, what are they actually doing to us? I'm glad you're here. Pull up a seat at the table. Welcome to another episode of the Reflective Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Denham. This week, episode 4, Parental Surveillance Tech. This is going to be the mirror of our episode 2. So episode 2 looked at the apps that promise to protect romantic relationships through surveillance. Episode 4 looks at the version of that same pattern that gets sold to parents about their kiddos. Same business model, same surveillance economy, different audience on the receiving end. All coming up on the Reflective Parent Podcast. I want to be clear about something before we get started. This is episode 4 of season 2, and we are about to talk about something I have been chewing on for years. I know going in, I'm going to lose some of you when I name what I see. That's okay. The work matters more than my comfort here. If you have been with me through this season, you know I get obsessive when I find a pattern that matters. This one I have been watching unfold across hundreds of families now, and we have to look at it. 2 episodes ago, we looked at Cheater Buster and the apps that promise to keep your romantic relationship safe by handing you tools to monitor your partner. Today, we look at the version of that exact pattern that the surveillance economy hands to parents. Same business model, same kind of false promise. It's different vulnerable people on the receiving end. So the apps that promise to keep your kiddos safe by letting you see everywhere they go, read everything they send, and hear everything they say. Life 360 for location, Bark for content monitoring, mSpy and FlexiSpy for the heavier stuff. Norton Family, Aura, Net Nanny for content filtering. The category is parental surveillance technology, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. The surface promise, what these companies sell, peace of mind. Seeing the theme here? Knowing where your kiddo is at any moment, knowing who they are talking to, knowing if they are in trouble before it gets serious. For a parent who is scared, and a lot of you listening have a real reason to be scared, this sounds like a gift. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. The same pattern as Cheater Buster, only worse, because the person being watched is a developing nervous system. Parents who use these tools do not become less afraid. They become more afraid. And I've seen it over and over again. Because these apps surface more data to be afraid about. And the relationship the apps were supposed to protect gets ground down by watching itself. So there are 3 things I want you to consider. 1, the constant low-grade activation of being watched. Kids modify behavior knowing the app is on. Not to deceive, to survive being seen at all times. The constant performance erodes the kiddo's sense of who they are when no one's looking, because no one ever is not looking. We went over this, thinking about putting cameras up in some of the programs that I worked in, because there was a lot of stuff that was happening that sometimes we couldn't see, just between kiddos. We deliberated on it for quite a long time, because what we would do is we would erode the trust that we built as the adults in the room with the kiddos if we put those cameras up and they know that they're there. If we're looking for authenticity, if we're looking for a person who's really growing by their experiences, we can't have things like that. All right, number 2, the erosion of the practice of trust. Trust is a muscle that develops by being given a small amount of latitude and showing up well in it. When surveillance removes all latitude, the muscle never develops. By the time that kiddo's 18, they have no template for being trusted, no practice managing freedom, and walk into adulthood underprepared for the work of being a person someone else can rely on. We are nothing if not adaptable. I say this to parents all the time. We can actually see our kiddos experience this surveillance, become a person who performs underneath of all of that, and never really knows any other way of being. So it feels like it's okay, but that's where I'm going to push back. Is it? All right, number 3. The reciprocal lesson. Kids who grow up surveilled grow up to surveil their future partners, their future kiddos. They learn that the way you handle love is by checking. By the time they have their own relationships, the cheater buster impulse is pre-installed. The economy has built its next generation of customers. So it's the same package, a different sale. Something presents itself as safety. The function underneath is suspicion. The cost shows up at the table. Anticipate it's important to name it directly. I hear you already. What about real danger? Jay. What about predators? What about teens making genuinely dangerous choices? I am not telling you to be reckless with your kiddo's safety. I'm telling you that the marketing of these tools as safety tools is doing something else underneath. There is a difference between a conversation about location sharing when your kiddo is somewhere new, an agreement about which apps you check together, and the always on surveillance these companies are selling. The question is not whether to know where your 14-year-old is. The question is whether the relationship is built so that they will tell you because they want you in the loop, not because the app is watching them. This episode is sponsored by absolutely no one. None, not a soul. And I really do hope that changes one day. Because picture it, your product, something that ties into what we believe in here at Reflective Parent Podcast. Imagine the possibilities. Until that glorious day arrives, here's the simple way to support what we're building. Come follow along on Instagram and Facebook. Jump in the comments. Say hi. Tell me what you're wrestling with as a parent right now. This is the part I actually care about. The whole thing runs on connection. If you're ready to take this step further, the Family Agreement Workshop is open right now inside the Reflective Parent Support Group. It's the first piece of something bigger I'm building over the coming weeks. So if you come in early, you get to grow right alongside it. And hey, if you're feeling generous, there's a Zelle and a Venmo out there with my name on them. So let's take a look at this through the family table method bridge. Seat 1 in the 6 seats is showing up perfectly imperfect. Surveillance is the parent trying to be perfect, to never be wrong, to never miss something. Showing up imperfect means trusting that you will miss things and that your relationship is strong enough to repair when you do. I cannot tell you how many times kiddos pull one over on me. I was able to stand firmly in my own foundation, knowing that this is something that's going to happen. There are more of them than me. I have more responsibilities than they do. They're going to get away with some stuff. So let's move on to the next seat. Seat 2, safety lives in the body. The constant anxiety in these apps and that they generate in parents is the same anxiety that gets transmitted across the dinner table into the kiddo. The work is bringing your own nervous system down so theirs can settle, right? We talk about self-regulation so that we can do things like co-regulate. Okay, seat 5, connection is a practice. You practice connection by being there with each other across the small daily moments, not by watching them from a distance. So seat 6 is repair as part of the path. When the kiddo makes a mistake, the question is what comes next? The repair, not what could have been prevented through tighter monitoring. And don't get me wrong, the pull is so real that we do want to tighten the container. And you'll hear me say that. We have to be really clear about what we're tightening the container for and how we do it. So, an invitation for you to try something this week. Sit with your kiddo and have one direct conversation. Tell them what monitoring you currently do, why you do it, what you wish you could let go of, and what they would have to do to show you to earn the trust to release it. Then do the hard part. Listen. Maybe a little notepad. Listen long enough to hear what actually comes back. All the way to silence on the other side of their answer. Listen long enough to hear what comes back. All the way to silence on the other side of their answer. Most parents have never had this conversation out loud. The conversation itself is the start of the way out, albeit feeling rather unmooring, a little dangerous, like you're giving something up. You are, and you are. You're also giving up that low-grade buzzing anxiety that sometimes you probably feel like you can't name. Okay? So what we're doing is we're trying to undo what this package, the phone app, is promising, which is mistrust. And it's packaged as love. The relationship is the only safety that holds. So spend more time with them and build that relationship. Another hard one. Thanks for sticking with me through it. I'll see you soon. All right, if something in today's episode landed for you, I want you to sit with it before you do anything else. See, that's the practice. Not fixing, not reacting, sitting with it. If you're at a point where sitting with it isn't enough and you're ready to take the plunge and work through what's happening in your family, I offer a free 30-minute conversation. No pitch, no pressure, just a real conversation. Figure out whether working together makes sense. You can book that at awakenedshadow.com, and I'll see you soon.